What's up everyone, welcome back to the shop. I am seeing a lot of new names in the comment section, so I figure it's a good opportunity for us to do a shop tour. So welcome to my shop. We're gonna go over all of the tools that I have, well, the ones you probably care about anyways. So let's get started. We're in a basement workshop. It's about 1,000 square feet, so I've got plenty of space to spread out my tools and really make myself comfortable. Let's start off with my suckiest tool, which is the dust collector. I've got a 3 horsepower Oneida Cyclone dust collector with a 35-gallon drum. This is my old chunky boy over here. One with the 35-gallon drum because it's not as cumbersome to try to change out compared to having a 55-gallon drum that you have to try to, I wanted to have enough suction so that I would have no problem running ductwork all the way across the shop, which this does a pretty good job, and I'm just running regular metal ductwork to all of my major tools. Jet drill press, it's a drill press. It does what it's supposed to do, it drills. I think I'd like to upgrade the chuck here to a keyless chuck because I don't like, and then I bang my, I don't like it. I think that I should probably get a new table for this. I mean, the cast iron table is great and all, but a table you do use for woodworking with a fence. Right now, I just have like a piece of particle board that I made a fence for. It does an okay job. If I were to buy again, I think I'd probably get a benchtop drill press instead of the standalone, just because I would have extra space to store stuff in it. And there's a lot of wasted space around here. I mean, I could build a cabinet around it, but I know me, I won't do it. But no complaints out of this one. Works good. It's a drill press. I have a rocker router table and stand. I don't really use my router stand as much as I really should. I usually keep a full-size router mounted in it at all times so that I can go to it. Thing is I don't really like this very much. I really wish I had a cast iron top. With this one, I found that over time, it has definitely sunk in, so I'm having issues with it. I can't even really run a miter gauge in here anymore because it's just not straight enough. So I've had some issues with that. The stand itself is great. The actual metal stand, it's really supportive and stuff. It's the top I don't really care about. So I don't end up using it as much as what I really should. Because I think there's a lot of options with this. So I would like to replace this. I don't know if I would replace it with an actual cast iron top or just get a whole new setup. But I know that if I do, I'm not going to get one of these types of tops. It's going to be cast iron because, I don't want to buy another one. Disc sander, this right here is awesome. I love this guy. This is a Harbor Freight little gem. I think it's probably one of the better tools you could get at Harbor Freight. So if you're looking for a disc sander, you don't have a lot of money, go to Harbor Freight, get this guy, because man, this thing is a beast. It's also heavy as crap. It's a good one, I really like it. I have a jet air filter and then just some basic paneling that go along the shop. Give it a little bit of a nice look there. And then cabinets that conceal as much as possible. As you can see, I don't like to have a ton of tools out, just the tools that I'm actually gonna use. What you're gonna find is that I don't really enjoy making shop furniture. I make it whenever there's a certain need for it, whenever I have a particular thing that I just know I can't buy and I feel like I'm in the mood to build something, but usually I won't spend my time on that. I'd rather build projects. So in this case right here, what you see is all the plywood for the doors and everything. These are really rockler stands. So when you open them up, these are all metal stands here. I just use some MDF on the inside and then use some maple plywood on the outside. It goes with some of my other stuff. No handles, just wanted a clean look. So this one right here is pretty empty. I got some router stuff, some finishing stuff. I'm actually gonna put all of my finishing stuff in here. Right now it's in a separate metal cabinet. All it's gonna go in here. So I try to keep this one empty if I can. I'm not really good at that. We'll see if that stays that way. Another great tool, spindle sander. Man, I love using the spindle sander. It's fantastic. I actually am thinking about making, even though I just said I don't like making shop furniture, thinking about making a special stand just for that. Because again, one of those special needs, and I use the spindle sander all the time. It's really great. And just my small air compressor over here, I got a Big Daddy air compressor somewhere else. So just whenever I need to just pop a little, I got a small air compressor for that. Odds and ends. Festal domino, circular jigs, saws, drills, super old drill. Oh, look at this guy. Craftsman drill. This is, how old is this? Double insulated. Sears Roebuck drill. It looks like it costs $40, $39.99 in 1980. So That's a lot of money back then. This thing still runs like a champ. I just keep my sander up here on the cabinet because I use it literally every day. So it just sits up there. I would usually have my miter saw sitting right here. Right now it's upstairs because I'm doing some home remodeling, but it's really nothing to be excited about. You've probably seen how often I use a miter saw, which is never. No, nothing against miter saws. Miter saws are great. I just never really got into the miter saw thing. So mine is just a $90 saw that I bought 15 years ago. And last week, I changed out the blade for the first time. I've been using the factory blade for 15 years. So I might invest in a good miter saw in the future. I'm thinking about it. If I was gonna buy a tool, it'd probably be a miter saw next, but I simply don't use them. So I don't have the ultimate miter saw station or anything. I just keep it on top of my cabinet and then move it around whenever I need to. Rikon 14-inch bandsaw. It's got the super large capacity for resawing. I don't do a lot of resawing on my bandsaw. I like to keep a thinner blade in here. So this is like a 3/8, quarter inch, something like that blade in there. So usually I'll do my resawing on the table saw and then come over here and just buzz what I need to buzz off of it. Because I do a lot more shapes and stuff, but pretty good saw. Can't really complain. I don't really have a lot of comparison points. I've never used a super duper mega expensive saw to compare to. So this one does okay. Excalibur scroll saw from General National. Love this tool. Love this tool. This might be my favorite tool in the shop. Wait, is that accurate? Hold on. Yeah, without a doubt, my favorite tool in the shop. The other tools that I have, I might love them 99%. This one, 100%. 100% of my love for this saw. I like it by the window. I get plenty of light in there. It's really nice. Sometimes I'll move it out here to the middle of the shop to work. So I just basically on an island. Really like having all of that room. So usually I'll keep a 5 reverse tooth blade in it. That's my go-to blade. Has a little foot pedal there. Excellent dust collection. Man, this thing runs like a champ. I have 0 issues out of it. It's fantastic. Love this saw so much. Would buy it again. What you may find is that I do have some luxury tools, so I know how fortunate I am, but I also don't have a lot of tools. I'm not somebody who has 4, 5, 6 drills. I have 1 drill. Well, I'm lying because I just showed you a drill that's like 40 years old. But seriously, this is a drill that I use. I don't have any other drills. I use this drill. I have a battery there and a charger. So like I have a drill charging station here and it just sits by itself. Maybe I'll buy more drills. I don't know. I'm not somebody who buys tools just to buy tools. Usually I will get them whenever I have a specific need, like I'm working on a particular project and I need it, or I'm kind of tired of dealing with 1 drill and I really need 2 and I'll go buy a second one. So what you're gonna find is I don't have a lot of filler tools, really. I have enough to get me by. And then that will be right next to a really expensive tool like this. This is my Glowforge laser. Excellent laser. Move that off of there. I don't use it as often as I used to. I used to use this thing every single day, especially whenever I was making a lot of stuff for clients and taking a lot of client work, doing a lot of engraving. It does an excellent job at engraving stuff that I wouldn't necessarily engrave like on a CNC. Since I stopped doing that, I rarely use this. I think I might have used this once or twice all last year. No fault of the machine itself. Just not something I've been doing. So that's, reminds me, maybe I should do a project that has some engraving on it in the future. So this thing gets some use. Right next to that is my comic book display stand. This was one of my very first YouTube projects. So you could dig through the archive and watch it. I was just gonna say, please be kind. I was trying to figure out how to use a camera, but this is cool. It's a lighted cabinet. It's got some LEDs on the inside. Dovetail construction, so I'm really proud of that one. I don't keep all my tools out for display. Usually the ones that are out are the ones that I actually use on a constant basis, or I really can't find a good home for it somewhere else, and it kind of lends itself to just being out like a giant saw here. Personally, I like using the Japanese pull saws better than the Western style saws. So I use those way more than I use something like this over here. I've got some files, dovetail, marker, that kind of stuff. So just the stuff that I really need quick access to, there you go. And then some of the stuff I don't really use a ton, but again, where do I put it at? Like I don't know how old this is, if anybody has any good ideas. let me know. I don't know. I don't have 1,000 hand planes or hand tools. Again, just the ones that I like to use. One of my favorite tools is the Lie-Nielsen number 4. It just looks like a work of art, feels awesome in the hands. So this one's usually the hand tool I'll go to if I'm going to do any sort of planing. Though I do love my little Lie-Nielsen block plane. I often will use the Veritas shoulder plane here too. I know that some people like to use the rabbiting block plane instead, but I'm more of a shoulder plane person. So Veritas one, really good tool, would recommend. I love a good router plane. I mean, this is one of those tools that, you know, some tools are made to do something and they're made specifically to do that one thing and do it really well. That's what a rabbiting plane is to me. Excellent. I got a bunch of different size blades for this one. This is a Veritas also. Good stuff. And then I got my bigger number 6 4-plane here. This is one that I purchased at a flea market or something several years ago and refurbished it, and it does a really good job. I should probably put a newer piece of steel in that thing, but you know, it's good for what it does. I don't really do a lot of stuff with this one, so you may see it sitting on my shelf for a bit until I break it out, but when I do, it does well. Various size squares. I don't have a ton of squares. I could probably use getting a couple bigger ones, but this is what I have. A couple combination squares. Those are the ones that I use every single day. So I want to have quick access to those. So when they're not there, they're usually sitting on the table saw because I literally use them every day. A lot of times for this guy here, I just use the ruler itself and just put it in my pocket like this. That's a lie. I don't usually have front pockets, so I usually stick it down like this in my other pocket. Random files, old school files. Look at this guy right here. This is a pretty looking one. You could file the crap out of stuff with that. Also used for home protection. One set of chisels. I don't have a ton of chisels. Maybe I should get some. I don't know. I just have some NewtonMakes chisels. They do an okay job. I would like to upgrade to something, maybe something a little bit nicer, but no complaints whatsoever. So if you're looking for chisels, the NewtonMakes ones are affordable and I seem to get by. I haven't died using them. I think a lot of people consider the workbench as the heart and soul of the workshop. So this is, okay, I don't have a workbench. I'm not gonna lie, I don't have a workbench. I don't. This is actually a set of cabinets, and I just use this as a surface area for me to do this. Well, without this part of it. I mean, sometimes there's this. Yeah, so I just need a work surface. I really need to get a better workbench in here. It is a plan that I have to do that, and these cabinets will go back behind me until I can devote the time and effort, energy, and money to do that. This is what I get, but you know, hey, it works out well for me. Whenever it comes time to clamp anything, I can't clamp this as a cabinet. I go over to my assembly table, which is a giant table, and I'll show you that soon. But these are cabinets I made, and basically they're a way for me to store all my crap. This one usually has my odds and ends, latches, picture frame stuff, hinges, magnets, pieces of metal that I use for boxes, that kind of stuff will usually go in here. So just those odds and ends, like, you know, what do you do with it? A little piece of dowel. What do I do with this little thing? You know? So it all goes in here. This one right here is my favorite drawer because it is all of my stuff for scroll sawing. So all of this is just wood and saw blades. This is the good stuff right here. No one can touch this except for me. Anything I would potentially use for scroll sawing is going to go in here. Holly, Purple Heart, Lignum Vitae, some of that green stuff there. This is some blue Maho from my Spider-Man frame here. So one of the only woods in the world you can get that is blue. Random chunks of stuff. This is, I think, is bloodwood. I got some ebony in here. Just all kinds of stuff. Wingay, whatever. So this is basically any of those types of offcuts that, you know, with scroll sawing, stuff could go a long time, right? You can really make a lot out of a little. So any of those types of pieces will get thrown in here. These little thin pieces we could toss in here. So sometimes this ends up being the catch-all for bigger projects, and the offcuts get put in here, like this little piece of Wingay here. And then every once in a while, I got to go through here and clean this out. But this is the gold mine. This is the place I go to for inspiration. This one is not the inspiration drawer. Electronics over here on this side, wires, random things, LEDs, stuff like that. And then over here, crafting stuff. Leather, fabric, hot glue gun, cork, felt, whatever else goes in here. So, well, I shouldn't rag on this. This is a really great drawer. I just don't get to use it as often as I want to. But this is the maker drawer right here. Instead of woodworking, this is making. Odds and end tools, things that, you know, where else do you put this? A knockdown knife I use for veneering. You know, where do you put that at? You know, J-roller, another, you know, I don't know what this is. A burnisher for card scrapers, moisture meter. I always use that. So this is the stuff that I do need access to. I do use it, but there's not really one spot. You know, I'm not going to make a dedicated drawer just for a roller. This is usually table saw accessories, clamp accessories, things like that. Miter clamps, awesome clamps. If you're interested in miter clamps, check out these by Merrill. Oh, these are fantastic. Hearing protection, dust protection, that kind of stuff goes in here. Router stuff, templates, random odds and ends, router guide, any of that kind of stuff, any accessories for the router table that's not the router bits of the router itself. I usually try to stick in this drawer. Drilling stuff, screws that I use often, drill bits I use often, that kind of stuff goes in here. Any extra screws all kind of goes in my junk drawer. Sandpaper, usually it's a little bit more organized than this, but all of my sanding stuff goes in here. Lots of different sandpaper, finishing stuff. My actual junk drawer itself that I use as the catch-all for everything. So this is where things go to die, is in there. This is the stuff you don't see. Moving tripods constantly. When you're filming in a workshop, you always have tripods, stuff to move around. So I have multiple lights I move around, the camera I move around. I spend at least as much time filming as I do making, maybe more. And then on top of that, the editing portion, which is just as much time. So I don't really get to spend all that time building stuff. So whenever you're watching somebody on YouTube or wherever, and they're making a bunch of stuff and they're making videos and you go, man, that is awesome. Yes, it really is awesome. At the same time, they're not making 24/7. A lot of times they're doing like this, moving crap around and filming. This right here is my table saw. It's a Jet 3 horsepower saw. Works really well. Pretty happy with it. If I were to upgrade any of my tools, besides maybe a miter saw, router table, maybe this, I might switch over to a saw stop. But at the time, whenever I got this, I really couldn't afford it. And you got to roll with what you can afford, right? And I can't really complain. This is a really good cabinet saw. No issues out of it whatsoever. Table saw sled. Storage. All my quick go stuff. Got to have push sticks. You got to have gripper. You got to have all that kind of stuff in here. I've got this that pulls out. Blades, random accessories for my table saw, that goes in here. I open and close this a million times a day. It does a good job. And then I have my saw here connected right to my assembly table, which is a pretty large size table, I would say. It is a 5x5 sheet of plywood. Actually, it's multiple layers of plywood. This is a torsion box table, so there's a grid underneath it, so it's supposed to keep it remotely flat. And then 2 pieces of 5x5 plywood on top of that, and then edge band. So this is basically a design that I saw Mark Spagnuolo make like a million years ago. If you want to dig way back into the archive, he probably made this in like, I don't know, 2007, 2008, something like that, I'm gonna guess. So I modeled mine after his. Really good table. It needs to be completely resurfaced. I need to sand all this down, put a new top on top of this, some sort of melamine or something, because this thing has been used and abused. This is basically my workbench. This is what I clamp to. This is what I do all of my actual hand tool work, really anything. I feel like under here looks way more organized in person than on camera. I think the camera adds at least 20 pounds of disorganization from what I hear by reading stuff on the internet. So I've got my glues here, tape and stuff here. All right, come back here. You know, every time you buy a tool, you get like a big plastic case. I just shove them under here, out of my way. So just, so I don't have to see it or whatever. I keep some sandpaper down here. This is the stuff I literally use every day. I just reach down, grab my glue, spray stuff, put it back, So I gotta have all my quick stuff here. Thinking about putting cabinets in here, but the thing is while it would look nicer, much nicer, I really like being able just to reach down and grab something. So if I do some sort of cabinet organization, it's gonna have to have a compromise. I gotta be able just to, squirty squirt, put it back. I don't want to pull this and do this and then turn this little lever and then this comes out, and yeah, it looks cool, but I don't have time for all that. Ain't nobody got time for all that. Any of the bigger jigs that don't fit my table saw cabinet kind of go under here. So just like my veneer press in here, my picture frame jig, the big guys, they get shoved in here out of the way. This pile over here is for a home project, so that's just kind of, let's not pay attention to that. I don't even know why I pointed that out, because now you're going to see it. You're just staring at it now, I can tell. Okay, let's move on. Clamps. Well, some finishing stuff here that's for an ongoing project. So where do you put finishing stuff for an ongoing project? Except for right there in front of all your clamps. But this is my clamps. I don't really have a ton of clamps. You're kind of sensing the theme here. I don't have a lot of everything. I have the clamps that I need to have. So I use some pipe clamps there, just extra random pipes there, a couple squeezy clamps. I've got a handful of, just regular Betsy clamps or whatever you can get. So if I'm gonna build a project, I know it requires, a certain number of clamps. If I don't have it, I go buy one and I just keep adding to it. You don't have to have the super sexy wall that has all the parallel clamps, the $10,000 worth of clamps to show off and all that kind of stuff. They're awesome. I'm not making fun of having that. Like, that would be amazing to have. I'm saying you don't have to have that. You could just get what you need to get by and gradually grow. And out of all the years I've been making, this is all I've been able to assemble, and I've gotten by just fine. So that's cool. Let's go this way. Again, one of these areas that I swear looks better in person. I just have a little filing cabinet down here, like a super old filing cabinet you'd find in an office, and that has my finishing stuff in it. Again, I don't have the giant cabinet worth of stuff. That would be cool if I had that, though I probably wouldn't use it, a lot of the stuff inside it. I could probably throw away half the stuff that's in this one, because we all have our go-to finishes, right? And there's a lot of stuff in here that is not my go-to finish. Random scroll saw pictures. My epoxy picture I did with my artwork I did with my daughter. That was awesome. I do have a video on messing around with epoxy. Spider-Man, Matt Murdock, Spider-Man picture frame again. I didn't realize there were two Spider-Man pictures next to each other, so must be kismet. More scroll saw work or artwork or whatever I make that, I'm proud of it. I want to display it. Where else am I going to put it? If it hangs on the wall, it'll go here. I have a pretty good size CNC. It's 4 foot long, 2 foot wide. So you could do a lot of projects with it. I tend to not use it as often as what I really could. Whenever I show it on in video, I tend to get a decent size portion of the viewing audience say, I hate you, I'm turning this off because it's a CNC. So I don't use it as often as really what I could use it for. But, whenever you need something that is cut precise, then hey, CNC is the way to go. Also really great for making templates. So if you need to repeat your cuts, then hey, this is the way to do it. So there's a lot of stuff I could do on here. Like I can make table legs repeatedly on here. Odds are, just the way that I enjoy woodworking, I'd probably make the template on here, then use the template to make the legs using a bandsaw or something else. That's just the way that I enjoy woodworking. But if you're a CNC fan, then you probably want to have one in your shop. So here I've got one. We'll see in the future how often I use it. I don't know. One tool that I do use all the time is my Jet drum sander. This is a game changer. Once I got this, I realized I can't live without a drum sander. This is the Jet 1632 Mumbo Jumbo Slamma Jamma, really good sander. It's done a great job. Love it. Would buy again. My milling equipment, I've got an 8-inch Jet joiner with the helical head. Love the helical head. Telling you, I'll never go back to having straight knives. If I can do helical, that's the way to go. So it's a pretty hefty guy. You know what? Even though this is super heavy, you start moving some heavy lumber on this thing and this thing will start moving around too. Just one of those things where the bigger the joiner you can buy, to me, the better. They can get pricey, totally get it. So I got the 8-inch one. I didn't want to, I knew if I would have got a 6-inch joiner, I wouldn't have been happy overall. I would have had to upgrade. So I just went ahead and got 8. And even that, I will end up maxing it out quite often. I'll take the guard off and then, you know, joint my and then hit the other edge with a hand plane to get it all planed down. So I've got this, which is a pretty pricey tool, right next to this, which isn't. This is a lunchbox planer that I'm pretty sure I could buy for like, I don't know, 150 bucks off Craigslist right now. Literally just a DeWalt lunchbox planer, super duper loud, straight knives. It's a good planer. If you want a workhorse of a planer, the DeWalt planers are a workhorse. It's time to upgrade though. It really is. It's really time to get a floor standing one. And when I do it, it's gonna be helical head because I love helical head now. A little bit quieter than the lunchbox, screaming banshee of a tool. But it does a really good job for what it is. I'm telling you, I've had this for years. It's had so many board feet go through this thing. Rock solid, no issues with it. So if I were to recommend a starter tool for somebody, if they needed to jump into woodworking or one of the milling tools, I would say definitely look for something like this, these DeWalt planers. They do a great job. This is one of the more disheveled areas of the workshop, all of the lumber. So everything just kind of gets piled up over here on this wall. I've got my lumber cart down here. There's actually plans on my website to build that lumber cart. Does great. Fill it up all the time. Whenever it gets too full, that's when I have to get rid of stuff. So it kind of keeps me regulated for scraps. Regular just closet shelving that you can get here works great for storing lumber. Okay, you don't have to go super crazy with all the major lumber rack. I've put a lot of weight on these little closet shelves. No issues whatsoever, so that's cool. Down here though this is the good stuff down this way. This is one of 2 areas where most of my slabs are. Check that. 3 areas where most of my slabs are. So this is a bunch of walnut slabs. Well, this is a big piece of poplar that I'm using for a project. All the rest of this stuff is a lot of walnut, a couple maple pieces that are down there. So whenever I need walnut, I grab a slab out and then I cut off. I just slice off a little piece of it, and then people yell at me and tell me that how dare I destroy that slab to get wood out of it. I hope those people know that all wood that they use came from a whole tree that was then cut down into smaller pieces. Let's just move on. This is honestly where I spend the majority of my time in the workshop, and that's here at my desk editing. So every video has to be filmed, has to be edited, all the sound has to be done, all the uploading, all the writing the descriptions, updating the website, Patreon, everything else. So I am here more than I am at my tools. That's pretty common for people who make content. So I just have my desk, my office right here in the workshop. You know, you just got to try to dust it a lot because things can get kind of filthy. So I have a couple monitors, all my stuff right here. And then I got to have all my toys because, I mean, my God, you only live once. So these shelves that I made, love these shelves. These are really cool. I have a video on making those and then trying to break the brackets. So that was really fun to see how much weight they would hold. Just odds and ends stuff. Indiana Jones hat with a hat stand. We have a video on that. Sweet Lego minifigs. Piece of kryptonite, because you never know when Superman comes in all evil like and you got to punch him in the face. Fantasy football championship trophy, because, you know, whenever I play fantasy football, I destroy people by going 500 all season long and then somehow winning in the playoffs. Wood cars, Lego sets, Harley Quinn statue, moving on. Infinity Gauntlet, more Legos, helicarrier, all that stuff on a console table. There are plans available on my website for this console table, minus the junk on it. You don't get that. That's my junk. Wait, that didn't come out right. Pickle Newt pub sign. This came from the outside of a pub in England. It's double-sided. You have one side that's a little bit more weathered. The back side looks pristine because this is the side that was exposed to the elements. It's pretty cool. I mean, do you got a pickle Newt UK pub sign in your shop? Dartboard cabinet. Awesome. Made this. One of my first woodworking projects is this cabinet based off of plans that I found on Woodsmith Shop. So if you're looking to make a cabinet and you want a good set of plans, maybe check that out because I dug it. It was cool. There you have it. There's my shop. Went over everything, the nitty gritty, even inside the drawers. Sorry about that, you know, but hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, consider subscribing to the channel because, hey, I might put out another video next year showing all the different changes. Don't you want to know what the changes were? Well, then you better subscribe and hit that bell notification and then smash that like button and slam that whatever, that pog slammer. And while you're at it, maybe hit up this other video over here too, because I think it's a pretty dope video as well. So until we meet again, get in your shop and build something awesome. I'm gonna dirty this place up now. Yeah. Woo! Oops.